What's going on, guys? I just installed these Vevor brand floor tiles to enhance the look of my garage, and I have to say I'm quite pleased with how they turned out. At my old house I placed down an epoxy floor which took me about a week or so to prep the concrete floor, just to find out after a few months the epoxy resin started to crack and come out from hot tires. Rather than going through that whole mess again, I just decided to look into floor tiles. While there are a few brands of garage floor tiles including Racedeck and Swiss Tracks, it all comes down to what you prefer and of course what your budget is. My garage size is roughly 20 feet by 20 feet in diameter, pushing the cost of this installation to upwards of a couple $1,000s for the Racedeck brand alone. That's not something I was able to swallow. I came across this Vevor brand, also known as the Happy Buy brand, on Amazon, which has the same look as the Racedeck but nearly at a third of the cost. While they only have a few colors to choose from, I was only wanting the black and gray colors anyways. At nearly $1.50 to $2 a square foot for my 2-car garage, the price came out to about $800, which is much more manageable than the $2,000 price tag of the other brands. These tiles, like the big name brand tiles out there, also support the weight of heavy vehicles like my Tesla, for example. They are also UV resistant, stain resistant, and are obviously open faced so any moisture can breathe through them. Looking at the tiles themselves, they seem very sturdy and rigid. The bottom of the tiles is even open channeled for water to pass through. The entire shipment arrived in only one day, but it may be because I only live 5 hours from their shipping facility here in Georgia. Anyways, each tile has 2 sides with the female connecting loops, and the other 2 sides have the male connecting pins. You can see here how easy it is to connect each one together by pushing on them. As you'll see later, I just used a rubber mallet for the rest of the installation. To start off this install, I first took my leaf blower to remove any debris, while also taking the shop vac to any cracks and corners of my floor. Finally, I looked for any exposed glue or uneven surfaces before placing down this tile. We are going to want to have as much of a flat surface as possible to prolong the life of these Vevor tiles. I did end up finding some caulk from the previous homeowners I had to scrape up and remove. This is the only prep I ended up doing, as this is way less painful than preparing your floor for an epoxy floor application. I started at the garage overhead door and worked my way up to the house entry door. You want to make sure you have at least a 1/4 inch gap between the walls for expansion and contraction. I had a design in mind similar to this one as you see right here. I ended up only placing 2 rows of gray tiles down the middle rather than 3, as you'll see later in the video. I ran out of gray tiles for the edge of the garage wall. Going through the time lapse of this video, you can see how easy this is to connect each tile by giving it a couple hits with the rubber mallet. Working row by row, leaving the edges of the installation last, we will have to cut each tile with the tile cutter. As we continue to go up each row, one thing I wish I had bought were some knee pads, as this can put a toll on your body, as I discovered the next day. Once I got near the end to where we could not place a full tile size down anymore, I started cutting the tiles with this cutting machine I bought on Amazon. It gives a nice clean cut with no frayed plastic edges. Just remember to measure twice and cut once. This cutting tool works great for cutting the entire tile, but when you have to make an L-shaped or custom cut, you may want to use a small handheld circular saw. As you can see, I had to use this one to cut a specific size for the door frame. Going through the rest of this time lapse, as I mentioned earlier, I had to remove 1 line of gray tiles going down the center so I could finish the sidewall. I had plenty of extra black tiles to replace these with anyways. I continued to use my cutting tool, working my way down the rest of the garage until I completed the edges and corners. In total for the entire project, it took me about 5 hours. I think the longest part was when I had to do the corners and the sides measuring and cutting, and took up a lot of that time. The next day I installed this edging strip at the entry point of the garage door. Most of the high-end brands have their own edging connecting strips, but unfortunately the Vevor brand does not have one. I found this rubber edging strip on Amazon that can be tucked right at the edge of the tile. My garage overhead is about 14 feet long and this piece was 20 feet. I just took a cutting knife to create the custom length I needed. There's also this 3M sticky part on the bottom of the edge guard that adheres to the floor of the garage. I do not expect this to hold long, as the heat and cold over time will probably cause this to loosen. I may have to find a better option in the future to keep this edge guard in place. case. I think it looks pretty good though, almost a match to the gray color tiles in the back. They also have this in the color black on Amazon should you choose that. But that is it for the install. Clearly you can get this done in a day by yourself, but honestly I really like the way these have turned out. I think the appearance is way better than looking at a concrete floor. I'll have to keep you all updated in the comments as to how they're holding up. Since posting this video, I have had them in a few days and I've driven the car in and out of the garage with no signs of the tiles bending or showing signs of wear, and my Tesla weighs about 3,500 pounds. Should you need any of these tools I mentioned, I'll have the links below this video for easy reference. My name is Evan. Until the next video, stay safe.